Amid the deadly coronavirus pandemic, the US government has maintained a defiant stance. It will not lift sanctions on Iran. The White House has ignored increasing number of appeals to do so. The latest effort has been made in a public letter by US lawmakers. It's been signed by 32 members of Congress. They include congresswomen like Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Senator Bernie Sanders, among others. The letter denounces President Trump, saying, rather than continue to invoke new sanctions in the Iranian people's hour of need, we urge you to substantially suspend sanctions on Iran during this global public health emergency in a humanitarian gesture to the Iranian people to better enable them to fight the virus. However, the White House has refused to budge.
The attitude of the administration here is basically pretty bad. I mean, they're not interested in having a leadership position based on honesty and goodwill. I believe that they see the virus as another means that its enemies will be weakened. Clearly, if there was a desire to have the kind of open-handed and honest relationship with the world on this issue, they would say, okay, we're going to drop all the sanctions in regards to hospitals and financial arrangements to buy equipment and so on and so forth. And that simply hasn't happened. And I don't see that there's any reason that the administration is going to move in that direction.
Sanders, a Democratic US presidential nominee, separately weighed in on the matter. He said, pandemics know no borders. Let us put aside our country's disputes and lift sanctions to reduce human suffering. Iranian authorities say the sanctions have hampered their country's ability to tackle the deadly coronavirus outbreak. With the emergence of the coronavirus crisis, the Iranian president says this was the best historic opportunity for the Americans to retrace their wrong path by lifting the sanctions and tell their own nation, for once at least, that we are not against the Iranian nation. Hassan Rouhani said the United States has always acted against the Iranian people, and their opposition toward the Iranians has now been witnessed more clearly. As many Iranians die from COVID-19, has the White House lost a golden opportunity to back its claims that it stands with the Iranian people?
They seem to have moved very clearly to the notion of force, in this case economic sanctions, with the threat of military intervention. That seems to be their policy. And it's a very scary policy, and there are many, many people in this country who are opposed to it. But that, I believe, is their policy. And so the consequence of that in this circumstance with the virus are that the United States isn't going to be giving aid. The most extraordinary thing here, actually, is that here the richest country in the world doesn't have the medical equipment, the ventilators or the masks, and is going to wind up getting aid from other countries.
At a time when the world is facing an invisible and common threat, many have urged the US to suspend its sanctions. This has included calls by world leaders and international organizations. The UN Secretary General has called for the waiving of sanctions imposed on countries to ensure access to essential health supplies and COVID-19 medical support. Antonio Guterres says this is the time for solidarity, not exclusion. Meanwhile, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has called for an easing of sanctions against countries such as Iran to allow their medical sector to fight the disease and limit its global spread. Michelle Bachelet has urged world leaders to come together at this time, as no country can combat the pandemic alone.